here's why you should not upgrade to iOS 15. What's happening, Panda Nation? Peter Von Panda here. I've got my new iPhone here. I've actually got my old iPhone here. This is a 13 Pro Max and this is 11 Pro Max. And you can upgrade both of these to iOS 15, which I have, and I would not recommend it. In fact, one of the reasons I got the 13 and not necessarily on launch day was because the 11 had some strange things going on with iOS 15. And it's clear that Apple knows about them, and yet they released this iOS because I think they always want to release a new iOS with a new iPhone. And basically, I thought, well, my iPhone here, the 11 Pro Max, is a couple years old, and so maybe it's just a little laggy. Maybe there's some stuff that just isn't compatible because the new software is so incredible. But I can tell you now that iOS 15 does the same thing on my iPhone 13 Pro Max that it does on my 11, and I am ticked. So, first of all, obviously there are some new features, but I think for most of us, we're not necessarily using all the new features. And in fact, iOS 14, or whatever the previous version was pretty good, and it did most of the stuff that I wanted. But I want to show you here that iOS 15 has lost some features that it used to have. Hey Siri, send an email. Oh, you can't help with that? Hey Siri, read my voicemail.
I can't help with that, but you can ask me to open the phone app.
Oh, I can ask you to open the phone app? I use the send email function a lot because there's a lot of times when I'm hands-free, the phone is up on a tripod, I'm laying underneath my car and the phone is next to me. You know, those types of things I think are really important. And yet, those are gone. So for a lot of the standard voice controls that I think the average person was using, they're just gone now. And I think that's a huge miss. And honestly, I'm baffled who at Apple said, you know what, let's go ahead and add some features that most people won't use, but we'll remove some features that everybody uses, right? So that's one thing. There is just a removal of some features that existed in the previous version, and I have no idea why. And I certainly am ticked if there was actual resources put on the new features that I think most people don't use. So one of the new features here is cinematic mode. Now, cinematic mode is something that I was actually pretty excited about. I thought have that bokeh effect, make it look like when I'm filming on my iPhone that it's a much higher end camera. So I was really excited about that until I actually used it. And it sucks. First of all, it's using processor horsepower to fake the bokeh effect. But then secondly, it only films in 1080p. So I can understand maybe you only can record in 2.7K. And maybe not 4K. But the idea that you can only record in 1080p is silly to me, and it's something that I would never use because of that. Now, I know that there are probably a lot of people still recording in 1080p because you're recording a lot of footage, you know, you're on family trips and you don't want to run out of storage space. For me, that's why I picked up the 1 terabyte phone here. But to me, unless it's at least 2.7K, I'm not going to use it because I don't want a lot of lower res video just to get that new effect. What I want is the highest resolution so I can capture all those details, show you the fine details. Now, the other argument I've heard is a lot of people are just posting it online, social media, and so a lot of those sites will only support 1080p because it's just a little square or something like that. Well, I think most people, like me, if I'm sharing a clip, it's because it's a clip taken from a lot of footage that I shot. And so I'm not going to record in barely high definition just so that I might have that 5-10 second clip to share with you later. So I'm not sure who would use the cinematic mode. I am sure there are people that would use it. But for me, just to stay as forward compatible as possible, I shoot in the highest resolution possible because all the TVs out there are now 4K. Even my GoPro shoots in like 5.2K. So in the future, I think resolutions are only going to go up. So to film in a resolution that is inferior to what most devices, including TVs and phones, will display seems stupid. So my issue here is that it certainly seems like there was a lot of effort put into a feature that most people aren't going to use because the 1.0 version, while interesting, is just underwhelming and not necessarily ready for consumption. And my issue is that apparently they put effort towards that, and that means that in iOS 15 there are features missing that they should have been putting effort behind. Now the other thing I want to show you here is iMovie. So one of the things that's a little weird here is that I thought that on my iPhone 11 it was doing this little stall because I didn't have enough processing horsepower. Now the issue here is that I don't think that's the case. I think there's some other flaw in iMovie where it just stalls. So if I go here, I've got this little clip from my most recent trip. So if I select my clip here, I hit split, and then I go back here and hit play.
It's all supposed to be
you can see it jumped all the way to the next clip. It didn't play the clip correctly. So my initial reaction on my iPhone 11 was that it was a buffering problem, that it wasn't queuing up the video quite right, and so it needed a few seconds to chew on it. But since it does it on my iPhone 13 too, and I tell you, it didn't do that in iOS 14 on iMovie. And I edit a lot on my iPhone. So again, iMovie seems to have some quirks on both phones, which I assumed was a processor issue on this one, but it's not. It must be just the way it works in the new iOS. On top of that, there are features missing. Hey Siri, send an email.
Sorry, I can't help with that.
I know. And there are new features, which I'm excited about in the future when they're fully baked, but they seem to have come at the cost of the features that I used all the time. So I will tell you what. If you have an iPhone 11, 12, SE, some of those phones, and you haven't upgraded to iOS 15, I would avoid it. I would not do it at this point. If you're happy with the way it works, you've got all the features you need, then don't upgrade. Because I'm not sure that there's anything else other than really the cinematic mode that I was excited about trying out. And now that I've tried it, I'm going to say, I won't be using it. So that's it. My more global point is that, man, it really seems that there are a lack of visionaries at Apple. I just don't understand how you would prioritize advancing your product at the cost of features that everyone uses. It just seems like common sense is missing. And really, I don't see any game-changing features, and I don't see any game-changing products from Apple. And I used to be an Apple fanboy, just buying everything they had. I don't even own an Apple Watch anymore. I've sold my iPad mini. I've never picked up the new ones. You saw that I replaced my MacBook with an Asus ZenBook. My iMac desktop will probably be replaced with a Windows computer the next time I'm looking. And I tell you what, if the iPhone and iOS keep going the way it is too, I'm probably going to be picking up one of those LGs or with the folding screens, because that seems to give me a phone and a tablet in one. So everyone can make their own decisions on products that they want, but I'm just saying, I get that you're not always going to release a game-changing product, but at least don't remove features that we're all using. That's my rant for today. If you want to pick up any of my favorite products that I review, check out the link in the description below. Peter Von Panda. Out!
We can discover more and explore so much deeper.